Thank you, Greg, for the intro, and thank you for having me and Elmar for this conference today. I'm very excited to share insights about our project and how we transformed Deloitte's IT PPM towards an IT resource portfolio management. My name is Marc Neckermann, and I'm Managing Director for Valkeen. So if you have any questions after the session, just reach out to me, to Greg. Here are my contact details. The slides, of course, will be shared at least by me after the conference, but I'm pretty sure Greg is going to share them amongst all attendees. So just that you know, you don't have to write everything down. So the agenda. I guess we are going to talk a lot about resource management during the conference, and so do I. We have PPM, PMO practitioners and resource managers out there. Some maybe want to further optimize resource management. Some other didn't even maybe try it. But I want to encourage you to go down that road, because resource management is probably the venture where you get a lot of benefit from. And I'm not speaking about cost cutting, resource leveling only. It's about getting more done faster while having satisfied employees and satisfied customers. Today, I want to show you how one of our most successful Tempus Resource implementations is designed and what the concrete success factors have been here. Being in that area for now almost a decade, a consultant in PPM, there are always two major success factors for an optimized resource management. One is the PPM process, the other one is the tool. And that's why we chose exactly the same order for our today's presentation. So I will explain the PPM process we established as a baseline for successfully implementing Tempus Resource. Elmar is going to show you management dashboards and cockpits for what and how the team here concretely uses all the valuable data of Tempus Resource for. And if we have some time left, Elmar will illustrate Deloitte's next goals within the IT PPM. And we also decided not to run you today through a tool presentation due to a simple lack of time. But I already scheduled a follow-up session in case you're interested and you see some interesting things here. So on exactly the underlying use case of today, I will present Tempus Resource in the best practice process. In order to register, you go to valkeen.com/Deloitte, or just shoot me a message and I will send you an invite afterwards. Good. Valkeen. Valkeen is a consulting firm based in Zurich, Switzerland. We are a certified premium partner for Tempus Resource in Europe, and we offer process change, tool services all around PPM. And when we at Valkeen speak about PPM, we always understand portfolio management, project management, process management, and resource management. I got very passionate about resource management within the last couple of years because there is a lot of benefit and potential in it. And on average, I find a very low level of maturity, and these is mainly because of two reasons. One is the common PPM tool market, which doesn't really support the critical resource management capabilities. The problem is PPM tools initially have been developed to do single project management, multi-project management, portfolio management, but Tempus Resource started the other way around, which makes it pretty unique on the market. And the other aspect why the level of maturity is so low is the simple lack of awareness towards resource management. But as there are only two means within PPM, having budgets and resources assigned in the most efficient way, organizations tend to neglect resource management. Every organization knows pretty good about budgets, business cases, and financials, but only a few know who, with what skill, is working on what for how long. And many companies are basically steering blindly when it comes to resources. What I will show you within the next 2 or 3 minutes applies for any organization and is as well the case at Deloitte when we first started. This is the typical situation in many organizations, as I said, when I implement resource management. So the majority says and thinks project assignments equals resource transparency. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. What lies within the blindfold usually is the base capacity, the net capacity, absences, business as usual, net availability, plan versus actual, what leads to proper forecasting, primary roles, secondary roles, and skills. And for an optimized resource management, you need 100% transparency. So there is kind of a zero tolerance policy on blindfold, especially for critical resources within the IT. So in my opinion, in resource management lies one of the highest potentials to gain true business agility. And that has been proved by our project with Deloitte, because business agility is the ability to react and adapt as an entire organization to change. And change is driven by digital business. And how can we ensure to still create, deliver, and capture value while constantly being exposed to change? Of course, we have to transform our business and our entire organization towards business agility. But that doesn't mean agile execution only. That doesn't mean scaling agile via frameworks or just digitizing existing processes or products. It means so much more. It means to transform the entire culture. So how we plan, how we steer, yes, as well how we execute, but as well how we innovate. And in the innovation lies within the human resources and their skills. On last year's Gartner PPM Summit, I heard a very inspiring speech by Andreas Ekström, who is a Swedish guy and thought partner for boards of directors and CEOs worldwide. And he recommends to his clients to have a future, take your 10 best resources, lock them into a room for a year, and ask them to do nothing else but develop a product or a service what would destroy your business. The good thing about it is you will own it and not a future competitor. And that is a direct call for innovation. But how do you know whom to lock into that room, right? Business agility means the ability to react to change. Okay. And it's for me quite obvious that you can certainly only react and transform accordingly if you know your two input factors, budgets and skills and capacities. Your resources are the true critical path, in my opinion, and the true investment plan. And a higher degree of business agility has truly been achieved by Deloitte. And that's why I took this little excursion in order to make you better understand what Deloitte really has achieved here. So let's get into it. The challenges Deloitte has faced in 2017. Positive aspect, when we first met, already in place the awareness for a centralized resource management unit and division. So that was perfect. The challenges, the rising demand quantity. I mean, a lot of you guys are facing this these days, right? So the demand quantity doubled compared to the previous year. The demand complexity has been rising to the same amount like the demand quantity. So from purely implementation projects, we observed a shift towards sustainable programs with high degree of specialization. With it, of course, rising demand quantity, IT resources became scarce and limited. Therefore, project shifts happened unwillingly, right? The growth within the IT was about 25% per average year. This is a huge number that has to be managed in a healthy way. The process and the tool landscape pretty much connected to each other. So there wasn't any unified process applied and understood and lived by all participants and stakeholders. So that resulted in unplanned costs and distortions on showstoppers of the entire portfolio. The reason is because so many initiatives just ran besides the process. And the tool landscape, again, was not very applicable for resource management. Here, again, the journey started a bit earlier with spreadsheets, over to SharePoint lists, over to MS Project Server. This was the basic status quo when we first started. So what to do? Continue to grow to meet the growing number of demands? Not an option, with having 25% already in growth. Outsourcing, not really an option due to the high level of complexity. So we had to optimize resource utilization. In concrete terms, become more efficient, faster, and better. But how? The Deloitte IT team committed itself to a roadmap, and this was defined by clear targets. We have to increase efficiency of resource utilization. We have to improve speed and resource, speed and response time. Sorry. Process and prioritization optimization, and the tool landscape obviously had to be optimized too. So we started with a POC. Besides a drag and drop interface for Excel, Tempus Resource offers plug-and-play interfaces to numerous other PPM tools, as well as Microsoft Project Server. So we interfaced Tempus Resource within, I think, 15 or 20 minutes, and the team could immediately start testing with their own real data. After less than 14 days, the team decided we have to proceed with Tempus Resource. With resource management, always cultural change management has to start and never end, because there isn't any PPM dimension affecting more stakeholders than resource management. So change management is key. I'll get to this point later. With that in mind, based on the stakeholder feedbacks, we designed a best practice process on 2 stages. A demand factory has been incorporated, fast tracks, and a new prioritization procedure. I follow up on this in a second. And last but not least, we implemented Tempus Resource, but we chose an iterative approach here. So implementing both the process and the tool continuously, simultaneously optimizing. We will have a closer look on these 3 steps now, starting with the stakeholder analysis. For a change, the affected, of course, need to become the involved, especially in resource management. Therefore, I conducted stakeholder interviews with representatives of project managers, team leads, PMO, PPM, and resource management. Highly efficient because each took 30 minutes virtually, and anonymous, meaning everyone was able to speak completely freely. The major findings were process related and of course tool related. The existing process was reported to be too complex and too complicated. It takes way too much time, unclear responsibilities, difficult coordination, and a lack of communication base. The last 3 points lead to the second area of findings, the lack of a central database and the lack of a single source of truth here. The project server related outcome was bad usability for resource planning, project planning, and low motivation for time tracking. Who likes time tracking? No one does, but at least you should have some benefit from it to see on which project for how long within that week you are assigned to in order to track your hours. But this wasn't the case here either. So all of it clearly no foundation for more speed and efficiency. With that pain point in mind, that helped us to define and design this 2-stage process based on best practices, addressing all the pain points from the stakeholder analysis. Let's jump into the process. First, the basic philosophy of the process. This is found in many organizations in the past, and it were sufficient for a small quantity of demands. But what happens here is a project requester gathers basic information such as KPIs, urgency, maybe a management summary, and he gets the approval during a pitch and continues with the planning phase. And the planning, I saw it, took maybe 2, 3, 4 months and incorporated a lot of other stakeholders. And then after half a year, sometimes just before the project kicks off, they realize the skills and capacities aren't available anymore. So that's a huge problem here. Therefore, the basic idea of the process is to divide the planning into 2 phases or 2 stages. The first planning is a rough plan. So what is necessary to really approve? So we have approval factors. Besides the one we had here, we now add the feasibility, at least based on a rough plan on generics and FTEs. And therefore, we only approve what is feasible in order to then be planned accordingly on a much more detailed base. But we have a commitment for the resources and the feasibility. That's the basic idea. And this is how it looks like. This is an original slide from Deloitte, how the process looks like. We have a portfolio and a resource management process here displayed. And I will guide you through the 4 major aspects of this process. First one is one process for all initiatives. So meaning, either if it's a change management, a demand, a project, business as usual, even absences, whatever it is, it has to follow this resource management process. And why is that? You remember the tip of the iceberg and the blindfold. You have to have a 360-degree picture on your resources, and therefore project assignments won't do the trick here. Second aspect, 2-stage approval. First approval stage, operational committee. In order to approve, you do a rough plan on generics, on FTEs, estimation of effort, on roles, teams, skills, bottlenecks, whatever you choose. This is done in Tempus Resource. You then go into modeling, what if, simulation, and check for feasibility. It may result in maybe 1, 2, or 3 different portfolio scenarios you compare to each other, and you will present those to the operational committee. One is going to be approved, and then you follow up with a detailed plan. What is beautiful in Tempus Resource, it fully supports the reassignment of the first generic resource plan in order to assign named resources based on tasks. But the operational committee not only approves the entire project, it approves certain thresholds for time, for scope, for budget, as well for capacities. So it's quite common, and I see that very often, that during the detailed planning phase, you of course may exceed some thresholds, but therefore you have a checkpoint here. And if you exceed those, it has to be reassessed, re-simulated if it affects any other projects in the pipeline, in the funnel, or within the running portfolio. Third aspect, fast tracks. An optimized priority process and predefined characteristics such as size, length, and impact for the customer at least has been characterized during the evaluation phase. And what happens here, as soon as a demand is classified as a fast track, it will be directly processed into the detailed planning phase, what gained a lot of speed here. Last part and last aspect is my most favorite one, the so-called demand factory. It's placed during the evaluation and the planning phase. Because, quick story to that, I often get asked, how now, Mr. Neckermann, Mark, how do we assure a good and robust planning within the first stage? Our project requester, project manager aren't able to do that. In order to support project requester at a very early stage, we incorporated the demand factory. It's a virtual team of trusted advisors, and it's a win-win situation for both sides, for the project requester as well as the demand factory, because the members of the demand factory are pretty interested to being involved at a very, very early stage of a demand. So they can raise their hands and claim redundancy and whatever else. And these guys I interviewed too. So that's what I heard from the interviews. So that has been incorporated into the process. They are now lined up at a very early stage. So the demand factory consists of a core team and a case-by-case team. I don't go into this in any further detail. I share the slides anyways. This is a slide as well from Deloitte, what describes the duties and the tasks of the demand factory in detail. So from the business side, when we talk about client, the business is the client. They gather informations, and during the evaluation and the planning phase, that's the job to help and advise via the demand factory, the project requester. And besides the other aspects they do, they have to support with the proper first resource planning, because this is the foundation to simulate and check for the feasibility on the entire portfolio, what then is the stage 1 approval. So having this entire process design now serves as a baseline for the implementation. So instead of implementing Tempus Resource and the underlying process with a big bang, now having Tempus Resource go live date here, we decide to go step by step with each one of them, meaning always involving all the stakeholders, continuously optimizing, checking for individual use cases, asking for ideas and any inputs. What would you like better about this process? We've further conducted trainings, 1 hour for project managers, 2 hours for resource managers, and 4 hours for administrator and the really tough users. So this was the setup here. We established a first role concept, and I could easily speak about generic roles and role concepts for another hour, but all I can say here, the ideal quantity of generic resources should be somewhere between 5 and 20% of your current pool size, resource pool size. Tempus Resource was integrated into the current tool landscape, and this slide here displays not only the current tool landscape, but as well the demand lifecycle. So we have the business unit, the client, gathering informations towards a demand in ServiceNow. And ServiceNow is a beautiful tool to do that. So a customer front end, you name it. Of course, ServiceNow had to be evaluated as a potential PPM and resource management solution, because ServiceNow is doing PPM now, right? But to save you some time, ServiceNow isn't a resource management tool. It's great for service management. And there isn't a one-size-fits-all tool out there anymore, like in the past, especially when it comes to highly complex disciplines like resource management. Having a demand here, putting into Tempus Resource, doing a first generic resource plan, what if simulation, in order then to being approved by the operational committee, continuing with a detailed plan over to execution, project reporting, everything here. Tempus Resource, single source of truth. And this is what I'm going to present next week, same time when you're interested, how the process looks like in Tempus Resource. This is going to happen next week. Additional documents on solution design and maybe some cost calculations, but most importantly, the connection to Power BI and the SQL Server. First of all, it was the SQL Server, excuse me, and now it's going to be the Power BI dashboard solution here. Therefore, Tempus Resource has a DB connector, what is a separate application, what is highly performant and enables you to interface almost any BI solution out there. Let's get to the harvest of the PPM roadmap. Thanks to an optimized process and the resource transparency through Tempus Resource, Deloitte achieved to complete twice as many projects within the first fiscal year after implementation, 55%. More speed. Due to the new priority process, demands with high impact could have been were faster and could been processed immediately. So that saved about 70% of time, just labeled as fast tracks. And I will show you, or Elmar will show you, how these figures are going to be measured on a constant base. So these numbers are being measured constantly. Concentrating on the essentials, very important. So the ratio between demands in progress versus the ones in pipeline raised from 30 to 50% during the first year. Very, very, very unique here due to Tempus Resource, what ifs capability and simulations, all the effort, all the time, what it takes to see the consequences of any change now in real time. Other aspects, the ITS became to be regarded as the professional partner now because of the new high maturity level within PPM. And you will see that in the dashboards and cockpits. Elmar is going to show you in a minute. Maximum user acceptance for planning and timesheet, resource planning, project planning, and timesheet usage. We started to derive strategic HR plan. This hasn't even been on the roadmap of goals at the beginning. But this is a side product because you have a heat map, you have generic roles, you have skills, and you see your shortage. If it's a peak just for a month, or is it something what we need for future? So this is something you have to connect to the HR department. Cross-divisional, cross-locational resource utilization. This one is really, really strong. So either if you are in a line organization, matrix organization, or now so-called product line organization with dedicated teams, having a resource management database in place enables you to do almost anything. Rebalancing team, reassigning team, putting new teams together for innovative projects, and as well to look beyond your current department, current location to other locations. And this happened for Deloitte Germany. And this is as well the potential for global, applying resources globally, right? Our portfolio, the portfolio landscape became compliant with common standards, high management attention via Power BI dashboards. With those you're going to see presented by Elmar in a couple of minutes. You will see what I mean with higher management attention. And if you don't have the management attention, you will probably get it if you have the first numbers. We have get a new standard for global IT and the business, another thing. So this is being seen by business units. They now start to adapt exactly what we did for the team of the IT. And almost all benefits you have seen here enable for true business agility because you have managed the critical path, your resources accordingly. So Elmar will show you now how the data coming from Tempus Resource is processed for decision-making, business agility. And from my point of view, this will lift resource management to a whole new level. So I have to give Elmar the rights to present, or this is going to be done by Greg, I guess, so he can continue with the part Tempus Resource at Deloitte.
Okay, I tried. Just a moment.
Hi, Elmar.
Hi, Mark. So,
we do see your screen.
But which?
Now, the wrong one.
The wrong one, yeah. Okay, just a moment. So how can I switch that?
See, Elmar and some of us are actually in Honolulu, so he just came off the beach, I think. So, you know, he's still getting his act together for this business.
So just a moment. I hope no.
Looks good.
No, because every time.
Again, the wrong one.
Yeah, I see. So just slideshow. We make. It's always switching to the other side. Display settings.
Again, the wrong one.
Yeah, hopefully. No. Yeah, no, I hope. So and now I'm.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to jump to the point where I stopped.
Yeah. Sorry for that. Now we have.
No worries.
So okay.
I'm very glad you are on the line because Elmar just wrote me a message. He had a really critical incident right in front of the conference, before the conference. So I'm very glad he made it. So, anyways, just start.
Okay. So I'm just make a short introduction of myself. I'm Elmar Lotz, IT Portfolio Manager in the German department of Deloitte. I'm working for Deloitte for nearly 18 years in different roles and positions in the IT department, and have now for 6-7 years experiences in resource management and portfolio management. And to come to Deloitte for now, because I'm not introducing Deloitte so long, because I think most of you know the company, and I do not have to give you many facts about Deloitte itself. It's more important to show you what Marc explained before, that we come to what benefit we have of Tempus and the new process, or the current process. So, but Deloitte, we are a worldwide working company with 300, nearly some around 300,000 professionals in 150 countries. In Germany, we have 9,000 professionals, and we are in the EMEA area dedicated. And what challenges we also in our IT department faced in the last years is the enormous growth of Deloitte in Germany, because we have growth about 20% over the last 4 or 5 years, not only revenue, also in professionals. So our people are also growing that fast, and we have to grow with them, or have to be more efficient in a way, because normally we cannot grow in that kind of ways and cannot get so much employees. And that's why we have to find ways to be more efficient and so on. What we have done the last years, we tried to be not a cost center in Deloitte, so as normal internal services are. We try to be, we come to a strategic partnership with our businesses. So we also have audit, risk advisory, consulting, financial advisory, tax and legal, enabling services, also global departments on the one side, on this side. Sorry, I do not want to. And on the other side, we have our department, as I think not so different from your departments as well. And what we try is to give all our experiences, our expertise to the businesses, and say them, come on, we are the best in technologies, also better than your consultants or employees, and let us be part of the added value of this company. And since the last 1 or 2 years, we come to that we have also IT project teams on client projects, and we are generating revenue with this teams, and that's a good thing, because so we can show our businesses, we have the expertise, we can support you in different ways, not only internal, that we give you technologies like laptops, mobile phones, servers, and so on. Now we can also be a strategic part of your business. And that's why we need to be transparent, and we must show all our data in to our management, and how we can do that. So here you see some screenshots of Tempus Resource now, and we are planning our project, not only our projects, everything, all our operating tasks, as Marc mentioned, absences, projects, all we have in Tempus Resource. We have a single point of data for that, and then we can fast see in a really smart way how utilized our resources, employees, in which groups, and so on. And we can simulate in models what happened if we shift or stretch or shorten a project. What happened to the teams? What happened to the different employees with their availability, utilization, planning hours, and so on. And that's why our data is the power to come there. And here is this is another screenshot, or how we simulate scenarios. That are screenshots how we can do it. We have opportunity maps. So, for example, if a new project is submitted and we have to give a first initial fast information when we can start a project, or what happened with other project, when we start this new one, you can see it in I don't know, 10 minutes, 5 minutes if you want, really fast. In the past we have to simulate these things with Excel or PowerPoint manually, and that costs so much time. I think we save 80% of our time and can do other things, or what I show in the next slides, we can create management views about this data, what we couldn't do in the past. So this is our portfolio management dashboard, and all what you can see here in facts and figures and visuals is data out of Tempus from the SQL database, and we put it into an SQL reporting server, and we take screenshots like this, and we are commenting and creating management views on this. As you see, how many demands we have in our portfolio, what demands are closed, how many man days we spend in these demands, how is the distribution in priorities, or also in planned resources by type, and so on. And the most interesting thing is, for sure, is the workload of resources. And as you see, we can show every day for the current month or the next month the current situation of our resource. And you see here we are overbooked also for the next month. That is not the best situation, but we have the transparency to our management to show it, and can say, come on, if you have a new project, you must be aware that we have to shift some of the existing things. And what is behind that, we have also a deeper dive into this front dashboard, so we can see data and facts about a year or about some months to see what development of the data is. So if we have done some activities to that the workload is not so high and not so overbooked, we can see how is the development about the last month, and maybe and see if our activities if we did the right activities to allow the workload. Yeah. And what we do also with this facts from Tempus is something like that. We show our businesses who are the effort drivers and what are the effort drivers for us. So also here, what we want to show is that we are a strategic partner for our businesses and not only a cost center. So we say, come on, the most things we do is not for us or to keep the lights on. It's that you can do your business, that you can go to your clients and have the new technologies, the newest technologies or newest applications and so on. And as you see in the right top here, only or 60% of our time or our effort is for the businesses and not internal operating. Yeah, and I think that's a very good value for that, and that also and we create such management views out of the Tempus data, and I will show you yet now some other also this driven slides or management reports we did the last month, for example, for the different businesses, how is the distribution of priorities. But I think also here the most interesting thing in considering Tempus is, so we say what we are doing the last month or the last year. I think we did it for the last year for you, and what we are do for national and global things. And yeah, you see also here we have nearly 50-50 what we do directly for our businesses and in which priorities. And also this shows this again, because we have three categories of demand targets, so-called demand targets. We have lean IT, business enablement, and business integration. Lean IT is really everything we do for operating, so to improve our, for example, exchange environment or something like that. Then we have business enablement, that are all the efforts we do for our business to enable them to do their businesses, to process client projects or client related things. And business integrations is everything where we are part of the added value chain. So we are generating revenue with this effort we do. So, and as you see, in some teams like here, nearly the half of the team, generates added value. And so we can show our management really fast, because of Tempus, how is this, how we do that and how we can get a higher value for our whole company. This is the same information in a little bit different way, but it shows really the same. So also here it's the visual you see in the upper right, some slides before. And as you see, every time we try to tell a story, how we are developed, how we are working with our businesses. And yeah, now also this was an interesting thing. Also this really we could do really fast because of the data from Tempus. We have to consolidate our portfolio because we had so much new projects in, and we have to deny some projects. And here is how we do that, how we categorize the different projects. So we say, come on, we have some, like here at Keep Finalized, some projects that are processing and nearly implemented or deployed. So it makes no sense that we stop them or deny them. Then we have high prioritized projects, and then you see the distribution, how this how we measure which projects we have to deny and what's the impact. Yeah, and then you see, oh, come on, we have denied projects or deny and defer projects, and we save 5,000 man days over a year, for example. And we can show that, or we save an IT budget from nearly 1 million euros for the next year, for example. Yeah, and then you see how this is distributed about the businesses, and every business can now make a decision if we do it like this or not. And this was the final result of our consolidation. As you see, the last month, every time we have an overbooking of our resources, also for the next 3 months. And after this consolidation, so we talk about 21 FTE related to a year, we can show as soon as possible with the data also from Tempus that we reduce our workload from something around 130% to under 100 to 93, and that is the result of the consolidation, and we can show it nearly in real time with Tempus Resource. So I hope that was interesting, and I could give you a good look into our doing in from Deloitte IT in Germany, and that helps you to find a decision to Tempus Resource, or what Marc told, to better processes and so on.
Awesome. Thank you, Elmar. Again, to wrap up, that was beautiful to see how an IT being a cost center before, so you can just leave the presentation on for maybe another minute, but to see how the IT developed itself, because I see it in so many organizations that the business units, they just don't understand why the IT isn't able and capable to do more and more and more. Now the IT is able to display, in order with the FTE already consumed by each business unit, and answer the question of the why isn't it possible, because we already have these things going on, especially for you guys. So this is why the IT became a partner rather than just a cost center. So these figures really interesting and a lot of benefit from that. Elmar, if you go to the next 2 slides, we have maybe 2 minutes, what the future goals are. The first one, what you always have to keep in mind, having a resource management in place to keep up with user acceptance, continuously asking stakeholders how you could further optimize both sides, process and tool. The team will now go towards a multi-dimensional skill matrix. So the skills or the roles will be further developed. This is the current next goal set. The business units tend now to understand more about resource management and what the benefit is, and they start to adapt what the IT did as kind of a role model. And of course, something what we all have in mind, already spoken about, resource management over maybe utilizing resources across many departments, even locations, what tend to be the answer for the future. If you have a shortage of resources, capacities, and skills, to look not only into other divisions, other locations, like nationally, but globally. So this is the last slide, maybe the last one, Elmar. We will share any slides so you can read through them. Can you go to the next slide, please, Elmar? Yeah, thank you. This is a Deloitte slide, the idea of, the idea of the global RPM. Yeah, exactly. The idea of a global RPM to leverage a common resource pool in order to have a centralized initiation phase to understand redundancy, to generate synergies, as well as to leverage a common skill and pool of resources. So this is pretty much it. Thank you for your attention, and I hand over back to Greg. Thank you, Elmar.